everybody, to the It Couple. I'm here with my wife, SJ.
Hello.
This is Dan. Today we have a very special guest. I'm a huge wrestling fan, so I'll just start out by saying this. So I've known about this guy's work for a while, but he's also in the comedy scene, so we have a lot of mutual friends there. Ladies and gentlemen, should I give your kayfabe accomplishments, Nick? Nick Nemeth, a.k.a. Dolph Ziggler, Rolling Stone Wrestler of the Year. That's the coolest. That translates to both.
That's amazing that you got that. I
That's
didn't even know that
huge.
they awarded
Rolling
that.
Stone Wrestler of the Year. That kind of broads that's kayfabe and shoots together.
It just goes to show that all media is untrustworthy, but I appreciate it.
Well, if you aren't a wrestling fan, guys, this guy's done it all. Won the world title, Money in the Bank, and he's a big fan of this crazy, wonderful piece of trash movie that we're watching today.
Good. So
the
good.
The Toxic Avenger, directed by Michael Herz and the legendary Lloyd Kaufman, who went on to Trauma, Hobo with a Shotgun. We just watched Zombies versus Wrestlers on our other podcast, which is I don't know if you've seen that. It's 4 different movies. They just give up.
No, I haven't seen that one.
Have you seen it? Roddy Piper is actually great in it, and it's very bizarre because the movie sucks.
Oh, unlike all of his other killers, like Hell Comes to Frogtown and all the really good Roddy Piper movies. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Hey, They Live was something. It was something.
Of
I
course.
think he was good in Frogtown, actually. Remember I said, I was like, he's not a bad actor.
he's not
He's
bad.
really not. I mean, compared to everybody else.
I just noticed you just have this Toxic Avenger shirt on right now.
Yeah, no big deal.
Damn. It is it is a crazy movie, dude. This is I was talking to Nick before this. This is basically if they describe Norm Macdonald's late night show as what if a late night show was shot at a 7-Eleven. And this is what if a superhero movie was shot at a 7-Eleven?
In New Jersey, a Wawa.
New Jersey.
Because he is the first superhero from New Jersey,
Yeah, that's-
which is a pretty big deal, guys. There we go.
It says so at the bottom of the shirt, even, yeah.
Where are you from originally? Are you
Not New
Colorado?
Jersey, Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh wow, okay. All right. That's
Way better on the joke spectrum.
Yeah, I was like, it's pretty close.
I was about to say it's so Midwest New Jersey.
The same jokes apply, less toxic waste or whatever.
the same joke. This whole movie, I mean, to borrow, if you're a wrestling fan and you're doing a crossover, this is as if the Oddities made a movie. All right. If I had to pick a wrestling group that could make this movie, it would be the Oddities. When did you see this? Nick?
The first time I ever saw it, there is a little wrestling tie into my Uncle Michael, who loves old monster movies, old horror movies, and loves wrestling. So I got into Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen, that kind of wrestling at 6, 7, 8 years old when you're not supposed to yet. You're just
when I was 6 or 7, I would see pictures and be like, these guys are old and gross and bloody.
But as a little kid, you shouldn't be into the Four Horsemen yet. But my uncle, who was into it, loved Ric Flair, loved everything. So he got me into wrestling, and that's even Andy Kaufman times. But he had a bunch of betas. I think they're taped from off of the actual copies of betas or something. And it was
That's crazy.
I just remember the first locker room scene where I don't want to give too many spoilers away in the movie.
Right.
But one of the many times when someone takes their top off in the locker room, I just remember in my parents' basement, I paused it and I was adjusting the tracking on it. And because when you pause it, and it was taped on a tape of a beta, so it's all scribbly anyway. I'm just trying to pause the boobs for the 3 seconds that they're on. That's the first boobs I saw was that movie. But also, it's so funny. There's so many things that I forgot about, so I rewatched it last night. So I watch every couple of years, whatever. Mm-hmm. And it just even Melvin just mopping and just looking. Oh. And
He's so clueless.
Yeah.
I love when he puts the mop in the hot tub. That's my favorite. He's just all right. This is actually called a splatter film. I don't know if you guys know that, but according to the interwebs.
Oh, do you have Wikipedia over there where you guys?
Yeah.
Not to brag. We have Wikipedia
Google.
and IMDb.
Yeah, and
not
Google.
pro yet. But
no, not pro.
The one that doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
Who has that kind of cash to do pro?
Not new me.
So yes, this is a splatter film. It takes place in Traumaville, which is also
about,
the name of the company that produced it.
The bad guys in this movie are very much the first generation, I thought of the Dolph Ziggler character, which is like very, like for me, was like very 80s, like bad guy in a ski movie sort of thing.
Every single time, I genuinely, I got a couple times with like Shinsuke Nakamura and a couple of guys. All I wanted to do was flip the collar of my shirt up and be like, "Oh yeah, well my dad owns this ski mountain. If you want it, we're gonna send you and all your buddies out of here." Like it's so fun. Me and Muffy, my girlfriend, whatever. Like it's exactly that, and I get to play into it when no one's looking, which is great.
Yeah, that's dude, awesome. That's what I mean, and that's what it means. Like you could be Bozo's best, like that character, the Ziggler character, would be perfect in this world of like jean jacket badass guy who I can fight but still can't fight the top guy. You know, like he's gonna lose to the Toxic Avenger. You know, like just like or like Back to School, the bad guy from Back to School. That's why I love the Ziggler character so much.
Biff.
It's all. Were you thinking of that when you came up with a character? You're like, I'm gonna make this as like 80s bad guy.
The beginning of it, a lot of it was out of my hands. But when we get a couple years in, and I was saying like Shinsuke, even like 5, 6, 7 years ago, then I constantly would revert to some version of an 80s bad guy in the movie. And go, and I would even, a couple times got full sentences like copied and pasted from my favorite 80s bad guy. Like, if we're not racing down a mountain, it's a boat race or a jet ski, or like it's the same.
Who's your favorite 80s bad guy villain?
Ooh, I was always partial to Crisp from Kindergarten Cop. Because the Ryback used to say that I reminded him of him, and I go, oh, okay, I'll take it. But there's so many different ones to where, and actually even in South Park when they're telling him that they're fake fighting with him to get him to race down the mountain. That's enough.
Wait, the ski one.
It's
the best. Yes, I love that episode.
I don't want to make this a wrestling podcast. He seems to be emotionally going through it on the internet, that guy. Every time I see him on the Instagram, he's like trying to talk up some match that's clearly never going to happen. He's reviewing chicken sandwiches, or he's calling Vince like a monster or something. It's like
I've seen some crazy stuff, but I've also seen people do things like that, and then a few months later, it's happening. So you never, I never put anything out on the open, and he's been away for a while, so he could be ready to go.
You gotta.
I'd like to see him show up and break a mop handle over someone's back or something. I'd be down.
Yeah, you gotta really shit the bed to not be invited back in wrestling if you were over at some point for a little bit.
Well, we'll see. Yeah.
I mean, I think Teddy Hart's still getting work, guys. So
Goldberg gets to keep wrestling, so nobody's out forever.
God, you made him look like $1 million when he came back. I remember that.
I'm gonna take a nap right now.
She doesn't watch wrestling. I'm sorry. But this movie, Mitch Cohen is the Toxic Avenger. I don't know why I said
Avenger.
Andree
Miranda is Andree? Is it Andree or
Andrea?
I didn't
probably
finish
Andrea.
Andrea Miranda is Blind Sarah. That's her name.
That's how.
Blind Sarah. It's just very
not just Sarah.
It'd be like not damsel in distress.
Right. Well, there's so many. There's so many women with their boobies out in this, and so you know what I mean. Like they're probably like, which one? It's the blind one. It's the hot blind one.
Yeah, they're all.
There's a couple.
We got a couple, but this one can't see.
I will say this. This got my wife going a little. Most of these horror movies, she's disgusted by me, but I feel like she could have pretended I was a different guy after
There's a couple nice scenes where she's dumping the water on the sauna, and I go, man, this seems like a nice place. Get a little steam in there. Take a nice relax. Maybe Quasimodo shows up.
I also love how anytime they cut to an exterior shot, it's the same time of day. Like it never got dark, even when it was nighttime. Like I was like, that's what I love about this movie. I'm like, it's almost making fun of itself and the ridiculousness of it.
I think they got to a point like that to where it was like they were so a couple times how you're looking that way. I know that like I think even Uncle Lloyd has set up a way to like, if you want to make a cheap movie, check out he does like a class. He's always helping out young filmmakers, and they're always probably doing guerrilla shots and cutting out money. Mm-hmm. And a couple different times when I saw it, Blind Sarah goes to grab comes to their apartment or something and she knocks over 70 blind canes on the ground. And I immediately, how you're thinking the time of day, I go, where did he get the money to get 50 blind person canes, and he had to pay for them. They're falling on the floor. Like, you had to get them from somewhere. Or was it like a medical supply place where they're like a TJ Maxx version where it's like a little bit they're off a little? Yeah. But it was so funny. That's the first thing I thought of. I'm like, who the hell paid for that? Like, that's not in the budget.
I love that. I love that goes into your head. And meanwhile, I'm like, oh, they shot this on the same day. They only shot these people out in 10 hours. So yeah, it opens with a beautiful shot of the World Trade Center.
Well, also, like, there's 1,000 people that are in this movie, and I think 20 are paid.
I don't even.
Yeah.
If that.
You know what? 20 paid. Yeah, that might be like way high.
My favorite is when you can see it's like the neighborhood kids, like they're all eating ice cream, and the little one who's like sitting on another kid's lap is just like, they're probably like, here's ice cream, be in this
There's
scene.
even one, I think, when they're all going to get him at the end because they think he's the bad guy, and there is shots of the military, shots of the mayor, and there is just some kids that I think they were running toward an ice cream machine or something. They just like cut it the other way because they're like, some of them had ice cream, I think. I don't know.
Well, they don't. Yeah. I mean, this movie is so like one of the things about this movie is they didn't name it the Toxic Avenger until after they filmed it. So that's why at the end of the movie, all the kids are wearing "We Love the Monster" shirts.
We love the monster hero
because they hadn't decided what it was going to be yet.
I did not know that part. I don't know the deep dive stuff, but we love the monster hero. I love that shirt, and then it makes me think of how everything that I don't know. Usually my shirts are squishy like that. They're almost like those 80s t-shirt print ones that you make yourself. Mm-hmm. But I love those. That and when they opened up on where a story begins, whatever, and it's the Tromaville Athletic Club or whatever, I go, that is something that it stands out to me so much. I love it. I got a patch of that on one of my denim jean vests that I wear to the ring. Just Trauma Athletic Department or something, whatever.
It is very, I mean, this whole movie, it's just made on a prayer. The whole movie is just, I mean, at any moment, this is the one movie you watch where you're like, at any moment, this could stop being a movie. You know what I mean? This could just like turn into like an infomercial, or they just end it.
It's like the camera's running. They all go have dinner, like lunch. They like break, but it's still they're in a tent.
Another thing I love about this movie, and we'll go through the plot quickly because it doesn't really, we can talk about it in 4 sentences. But like another thing about the movie is there's no wrong acting choice. Everybody is in a different movie. Bozo and Toxic Avenger are kind of in the same movie. There's a Nazi cop for no fucking reason.
For no reason other than to he's like, oh, I like Colonel Klink. Let's get a character in here. Like it makes it almost goes against the story because you have the way of
totally does.
Here's so the bad mayor stories. And no one knows. And by the way, that mayor, I wish I knew his real name. He's so great.
Pat Ryan.
Without even trying, he is like, I mean, it's politics a little bit different now, but like in the 80s, like there's the bad guy politician. They look like that. They act like that. Like I don't even think he was doing anything. Yeah, it was just.
And it was also every time he spoke, you could tell it was like they only did one camera angle on him because he's always like looking this way when he was great though. I'm like, the guy had a lot to say and do.
Another thing about this movie is a lot of filmmakers, they're like, all right, we want to tell a story. Like, I feel like with this movie, the guy who's directing was just like, we just need to have something crazy happen in every scene so people keep watching it. People just keep visually watching it.
Yes.
Not the story like, we need a titty here, we need a weird face here,
we need a kid's skull,
like a taco truck, like whatever weird thing. We just want to keep people watching this fucking thing.
There is. It's somebody fell in the pool. There's some boobies. Oh, he's gonna jump out a window into some toxic waste. There's some more boobies. Oh, here's an explosion. Like it's so like even when the car goes off a cliff, it hits, and you're like, oh, okay, and then it just explodes for like it doesn't make sense in the shot, and you want
it doesn't make any sense.
No, none of it this movie doesn't make sense, which is why it's so perfect.
It's beautiful
because it's really, truly, I mean, it's like you can look at it and say, okay, you have the bad guys, Slug, and whatever his name is, Bozo.
Bozo is like a compliment, and he's the main bad guy. You're like, get him, Bozo! You're like, how funny is that? And he's like,
that should be
drive.
the nerd's
I'll
name.
lose my mind if I don't drive and run over kids. Like, all right.
That's the craziest thing is it's so ridiculous how the girls are like, oh, I'm so turned on when you beat and murder people. And I'm like, oh my God. Like,
because of the foreshadow for the 20s. Yeah. No, there's what, like at the beginning when they're first looking at those Polaroids, she's like, yeah, it just got me so hot. And then they keep going back and forth, almost like that SNL sketch with Sherry O'Terry, where they're just like, oh yeah? And they're like buying a car and it's just shooting windshield wiper fluid. She's like, yeah, I'm gonna get the windshield wiper, I'm gonna get the fluid all over or whatever. Like they're going back and forth at the run him over or whatever, and then she goes, take me, and they just like go off camera. It's so beautiful.
Oh my God. And then you see them in action. You see them at night. So they did shoot at night because that street scene was at night. So they did have one late night. One late night. He also probably, I'm just going to say this about the director or trauma. Two directors. I'm sorry. About the directors, they must have had a lot of people who liked them. Because there are so many people in this movie that you're just like, okay, so they...
It's Marissa Tomei's first movie. So Mitch gets picked on by these, like, fuck bullies. Sorry. I'm sorry. Melvin? Sorry.
Melvin, which is perfect. Yes.
I think the guy who plays him's Mitch, but Melvin is picked on by the fuck bullies.
Yes, Mitch is the actor's name.
Yeah, he's promised that he's going to be able to score with one of the chicks later on. This is after they murder a kid, by the way.
And like not even like one time they run over his body.
A couple times.
They go back because she's like, that was so great. One of the girls, and he goes, he's still moving, no points.
That's it.
Which they really like. That should be its own movie.
Yeah,
you know,
really, I agree.
It's Death Race, and they just were like,
yeah, but that's
just
Yeah, that's my point. It's like there's so many different movies within this movie that you're like, wait, now he's in love with this blind girl? Like, I don't understand.
It's very much 3D chess.
It's 3D chess.
A lot of it's kind of over your guys' heads. Which...
Kubrick, Cassavetes, Toxic Avenger.
Right.
But, so essentially, they then pull this prank thinking he's going to score. He ends up making out with a goat, which apparently... had lice in real life, so he got lice from this goat, which is even worse.
Yeah.
They don't just get a sheep or a goat. They put lipstick on and dress it up in I believe a bikini.
Yeah.
It's in. They went to more lengths for that prank than. There was like no craft services, but like they had a bikini. Was there jewelry or something? There was so much involved in that because it's just like, oh, you're kissing a pig or something. Like that's funny, busted, whatever. Like no, they took their time with that, which I really appreciate.
They definitely didn't.
That was like their whole wardrobe budget because some of the girls are like literally wearing the same workout clothes a day later, and I'm like, oh.
And there's like 100 people at this prank. When it's revealed he's making the coat, like it's like a 50-year-old surprise party or something. Like everybody's in this pool watching him. He freaks out. Like the way the accident's done is so great. It's
so perfect.
Such white trash New Jersey superhero.
No, wait, story. But you have these two truck drivers that are driving toxic waste that want to pull over and get high. Like
he goes, it's been 2 hours. Where's that? Was he like a bag of crystal meth or something? It's something funny. It's like a big bag of crazy.
Big bag of like Coke, and they have it all over their faces. Right. So they have these vats, if you will, of toxic chemicals.
Open toxic.
Open. That's right. They're open. The bins are open. So then, Dan, what happens?
Well, he then like. He dives into one of these barrels, like full
like
speed, dives into it. You just see his legs.
He's getting backed up by the mob, and you think he's like, whoa. No, he just turns and like front flip 450s through the glass.
His character, before he becomes a Toxic Avenger, this is his entire character. It's, whoa! Yeah. That's it. The entire character is just him going, no! So he goes to this toxic thing, because I don't even know if he does the lines later on, because they're all 80-yard, but his legs are kicking out of the toxic.
We're forgetting that he is wearing a tutu, because that young lady prefers pink.
That's right.
Right, and pajamas, right? Wasn't he polka dot pajamas or something?
Something along, and maybe even like, pink or ballerina shoes or something. Like, yes, that is all. That's part of the deal. She likes it. Pink makes her hot. Like, I get it. And they even went to get the sheep has pink on. He's like, just in case he was feeling in the dark and there was a prank that it was a wild animal. He goes, no, that's a pink bikini. This has got to be her.
Well, he's never been with a woman before. He doesn't know what happens. But anyway, he gets out of this toxic sludge. He's horribly burned.
Everybody's watching this.
The cops are trying to help him get their hands set on fire, which so unnecessary. It is cool, but
his hands caught on fire. I like that.
But you know what I love too? I love when you can tell it's a stunt person, and because it only goes up so far, and they're like, "Oh no!" It's like when your whole body.
And I thought they would. I thought, from remembering back, that he became the monster on the street, but I forget he still goes home in the bathtub stuff. So when he's running down the street on fire, you are that giant big person in the suit. So it's like, it would have been a great time for him to be turning in right there, but he's still 48-pound.
Oh, they can't afford the transformation.
That's right. Oh,
they don't show the transformation. They can't afford it. There's one transformation where he's a little gooier, and then he's the Toxic Avenger.
He's gooier in the bathtub, and then there's some bubbly, but then you get a little, like, the air pockets in the face.
Yeah, a little bit.
Hey, they had to buy all those blind canes. They had to spend the money somewhere.
And then he has this, as the Toxic Avenger, he has a supernatural sense of right and wrong, where he's able to stumble upon drug dealers, guys who are robbing a fast food. I'll get into the fast food place, but we first see him defend a cop that, the bad guys are trying to get to go on the take. So they're trying to bribe the cop. He says no. I think he has an Irish accent. I forget.
He's Clancy, and
oh yes.
So clearly, and then he's like, I even think he goes, was that the Shaughnessy boy or something? So he goes, he has a cartoonish Irish accent sometimes. And sometimes he just goes like, hey, it's Jersey, and I'm the cop.
That's what,
it's so funny. A couple times he goes into like a jokey version of it, and sometimes he just doesn't have it.
Which is so funny, Nick, because that means like he had a moment with the director where he was like, should I do it Scottish or American? He goes, both are good.
Yeah, try
I like both. I like both.
Can we shoot it by midnight? Because
so the first one, he fights all these guys who are beating up the cops. He rips their fucking faces off, totally fucks them up.
Also, everybody does kung fu in this movie.
Everybody does.
There's a ton of kung fu.
And they're like trained, because a couple of them are like roundhouse spinning pirouette kicks. And you're like, everybody knows karate? Like, in my head in the 80s, I go, oh, everybody knows karate. Yeah.
And this next scene, this is the fast food scene, which is hard to watch at times. Because my wife and I are dog lovers.
We have 3 dogs.
Here's an interesting tidbit. So one of the bad guys, he points a gun at a baby, and then he shot a seeing eye dog. And after he did that day, that actor quit. He goes, I'm good. I'm done. And he just left set. So like after they made him shoot the seeing eye dog, he just quit the movie.
God.
And
still has a little PTSD to this day of shooting him.
It's the most brutal death in it, where they just shoot the seeing eye dog.
They shoot so. I really wonder how they do it, because you see the dog get hit with the bullet and it like slides back into a wall. Yeah. But it looked like they like rewound something to like shoot it. They pulled him on a leash while he was napping, and then they fast forwarded it and reversed backwards. I don't know. But
they did a ton. They did a ton of stuff backwards, because even a lot of the fighting, you can just tell, you see it, or it gets really fast, like it speeds up. The dog also, when they flash to it, its entire stomach is out on the floor.
Oh, it's sitting out on the floor?
I was like, it was a bullet, right? Like nobody went in there and carved. Like,
and this blind girl is just like, oh no, I don't have my dog
she's hot.
anymore.
Blind Sarah is hot.
She almost gets
so hot and pretty.
The hottest
I had to,
girl.
Google her afterwards. I'm like, what's her deal? Like, I don't know.
They're like, she is 67.
Buddy, I think you got a shot. I think you got a shot.
Actually, outside the taco place, I'm always thinking of them saving money or shooting gorilla.
You're like, I shot a dog. You're like, what? Like, this is going to weird place.
I want to say the original name is like The Taco Place, and they use tape for part of the H to make it look like TIE Taco Place. So now they no longer have the official logo, and they have a different name of a place, and they can't get sued, and they can use that Taco Bell living room for the whole thing. And I just remember there's one little shot, and I think they just taped over part of it, and that H becomes an I. And No lawsuits, no paperwork,
Dude,
no nothing.
trauma uses, like, they say this about the Native American, use every part of the buffalo. Trauma uses, even to the point, during this scene, there's the guy who tries to sexually assault the blind girl, he gets his arm chopped off. He had one arm when he filmed, so they're like, oh, you have one arm? Okay, we'll attach a fake arm to you and chop it off. So that's like Trauma's thing, where it's like, do you have a real disability? Okay, let's use that.
I think that's brilliant.
That is, and by the way, they are like the land of misfit toys, and they do have everybody come in, and they do shoestring budget, but they genuinely, I mean, since then, like, anybody weird and like bullied and picked on, whether there's a story there or not, they end up being the good guys and the heroes. But a lot of weirdness that people, even especially in the 80s, if you're kind of weird, like you're getting bullied and pushed around, and like those people tend to like lean toward being the good guys of all the trauma movies, which like Nukem High and all that stuff. I love that stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, Hobo with a Shotgun, it's like the same thing as like this, where there's interesting, like they just make every scene like have you seen that movie, Hobo with a Shotgun?
I haven't seen it in 30 years, or
it's been a while. It's great, but like it's not like he doesn't just shoot the pedophile jerking off to the kids at a playground. The pedophile's also dressed as Santa. Like they have to add another thing to be like, let's add, all right, more whipped cream on the fucking sprinkles. Let's do this shit.
Yeah.
I got sundae to death. What a great way to go.
Right. There are worse ways to go. In fact, one of the girls gets her ass burned off in a sauna, right?
That's another confusing thing, because
it's creative.
It's
I like
two movies.
Like, everyone's expecting the face, and we already had a head explode on a kid. Nobody's butt got burned through their insides.
No, exactly.
No, the bad guy.
Do you know what I want to say this? Right. Since there were two directors, maybe they really did make two different movies. Like one was on set.
None of the bad guys
location.
die as, maybe the last the mayor, but none of the bad guys die as badly as the kid or the dog.
Oh, right.
That's true. That's true. I didn't think of that.
They're not nearly as brutal, like, so I mean, and the movie, it's two different movies, because then after he becomes Toxic Avenger, it's the superhero story where he's saving all these people from bad guys. Mm-hmm. And then there's the Jason Voorhees story where he's getting revenge on the hot hit and run guys. So that's like more of a horror movie. It doesn't know what it wants to be.
No. I mean, it's a love story too with blind
It's a
Sarah.
beautiful love story.
And that is my favorite, when they just have this montage of them like falling in love, and you can see it's the same shot that they used of them holding hands and walking up a hill like 6 times.
And the grossest, smelliest sex scene ever, where
Oh
he's just
God!
drilling her in his like fucking trash pad.
That she moves into.
Even his tutu is black and bloody and burned because it was pink, but now it's toxic.
It's the greatest. So the end of this movie is the mayor ends up getting smart. Oh no, like this guy's bad for our bottom line. The 80s mayor. So he ends up this is like the most retconning the movie does.
I mean,
he randomly kills this old lady who seems nice, and then we're like, did Toxic Avenger turn evil? And then they clearly were like in that process of, is this a horror movie or a superhero movie? No, it's a superhero movie. Let's say she's an organ trafficker, which they explain in a cop scene. It's like, no, she's one of the worst organ traffickers. He is a good guy.
right?
Yes, I was confused for a second. I'm like, he can do wrong? He's hurting. This old lady didn't do anything. Did I miss something? And I was like, no. He had a sixth sense melted from the toxic waste into his brain.
In a lot of ways, this is the scariest movie we've done, because that's what crazy people do. Like when crazy people murder randomly, they think, no, she's the trafficking.
Right, that's what they did.
She's that trafficking lady.
So
that's why I'm killing her at this laundromat. They run out of all the money at the end of this movie, because all they have is a tank. They have budget for a tank because they find like some fucking shitty municipal park, and they're in a tent that we could buy for $60 right now.
But I also appreciate, like, they went from his little dirty hovel that he had put a little blanket down, and then she brightened up the place with some posters or whatever, and they made a little bed, and then now they've moved on to like they have their farm, and it's like, oh, they don't have to have awesome material things. They got a fancy tent that might be brand new.
She can't see anyway, so that was my
they're-
like.
Yeah,
I'm
like,
like,
we're in a penthouse suite, baby. Whatever.
why did she decorate?
Dude, their
with
whole
curtains?
relationship is just more fun version of Eric Stoltz and Laura Dern in Mask. It's the same movie.
It is.
It's like the same dynamic, but at the very end of it, the townspeople get behind the Toxic Avenger. He ends up standing up to the evil mayor, literally rips his guts out in front of everyone, including his own mom, and they all cheer like it's the greatest fucking thing in the world.
The best. No one's scared. No one
Nobody's
screams.
scared.
Holy shit! He just shoved.
It's
grabbed all the-
Traumaville. It's Traumaville, the toxic waste capital of the world. I believe that giant sign says when they
Right.
the opening credits. It's like they're used to seeing organs on the floor everywhere at all times in front of somebody. And
Which
then,
I'm a little confused by, because my uncle grew up in that part of New Jersey and he just got cancer and died. So usually what happens with toxic situations is you just die. But this guy got superpowers, so I'm not going to show this to my cousin.
It's very similar to, I think, a Family Guy episode where like they touch some toxic waste and they get all these superpowers, and they're running the town. So Adam West, the mayor, goes, I'm going to go roll around in some toxic waste and fight them. And he rolls around in some toxic waste, and the doctor goes, you have ridiculous terminal cancer. You're going to die immediately. Why would you ever do this? And it's like, yes.
Yeah, that's exactly what this movie is, man. I mean, it is a delight, because
It is
also
a
we
delight.
were watching, like, this was in between like Hereditary and fucking Rosemary's Babies and all these
Carrie,
heavy ass
yeah.
movies, and then you just watch this where you're just like, oh man, like this is just what filmmaking should
Such
be.
a joy.
It's
'Cause,
just fun.
We'll watch a couple movies in a night, and sometimes you really only have one movie in you. You know, you've had a long
Right.
day, and
Yeah.
as soon as he put it on, I said yes. Like I don't know anything about this.
Well, she was thrilled.
I was thrilled. I was screaming, laughing. I love the gore. Dan knows this about me. Anytime something has like just a ridiculous amount of blood or gore, like the dog's guts or
We
the
didn't love
mayor's
that.
guts. Well, the dog's guts I didn't love because I love the dogs. But like the mayor's guts, the kid's head,
Sure. The kid's head. But the best when he's like, his sister, don't forget your helmet. And he's like,
Yeah, the
"Thanks."
mom.
You know,
Yes,
little bitch,
the
she
mom.
goes, you guys or whatever. And like he's just like, you just know he's gonna die. You're like, oh, they got him. Like, no, it's trauma. They're gonna explode his brains out of his head because that's what they do. I think that's where the budget
So
always
good.
goes. Love that.
Oh man, it's so
How
great.
does this one hold up to the other ones?
I haven't seen 2 or 3. Have you seen 2 or 3?
2
yet?
and 3 I saw a long time ago, and I'm down for all those traumas once in a while, but I for some reason I can't remember. Citizen Toxie is one of the, I think that's part 3. I forget, but this is the one that I go back to every time. You know, it's old school. It's very much like The Godfathers. You know how they get a little not as great.
Yeah.
Yeah, the second one is the best
Yeah, it's
one.
all the Godfather 3. Trauma just made a business out of Godfather 3.
Yeah, they basically it's the same thing, just low budget. You don't need fancy actors.
You know what? I'll say this about trauma movies. If you've never seen a trauma movie and you're watching it and you don't like it, wait 5 minutes, it'll be a different movie.
It'll be a totally different.
Right. Or you can fast forward knowing who the characters are, what movie that will be.
Oh,
so if
my
you're like, I like this one, you can skip ahead to the love story. Yeah.
But I remember talking when I was a kid. I mean, you probably had this, like, that was the VHS and the video store I always wanted to get, where I was like, "No, that guy's fucking cool, man. Swamp
But
Thing."
Chuck, our camera guy, was saying that there was a cartoon. Like there was just because I know the name,
There was
but
a
I never saw it.
genuine little mainstream couple-year run. There was a cartoon on real TV, which is very non-trauma, and they sold toys. I got them one Christmas, the toys. I couldn't believe it. It was almost like the real Ghostbusters when they made those toys back then. I forgot that Toxie caught on for a little while, like in mainstream, not trauma lore history.
It's great. We had a lot of fun. The last time we had this much fun watching a movie was Puppet Master, which I don't know if you've seen that.
Oh, I've seen. I think I got up to. There's kind of newer one.
Oh, they keep making them every day. I think
Yeah.
somebody has
Yeah,
IP.
yeah.
I think we watched the original one, right? Did we watch the original Puppet
Yeah,
Master?
not every big company has IP. That's what I realized. There's some IPs like there was this toy actually when we were probably kids, which was, do you remember Boglins? Do you remember that? It was like a goblin with your hand that you would like things.
Yeah.
That guy who created him still owns the IP, so he still makes them. He has an Instagram account, but he doesn't have the Mattel money anymore. So he's like making him, and they all just look like shit. It's like the saddest fucking.
So, has anyone? Have you guys seen the new Winnie the Pooh movie?
No, I heard it's crazy. Have you seen it?
Yes, I haven't seen it. I've been saving it because, well, a couple things. One, I'm not paying $19.95 at my house to watch that movie.
No, thank you.
But I remember hearing about it. But when you're saying IP, like they're like, hey, just so you know, in 2022, Winnie the Pooh is up for grabs. I was like, what? And they were working on that movie 6 months before they were allowed to, just to plug in all the Winnie the Pooh stuff. I heard it's very interesting.
Yeah, because it's IP anyone can use, right?
Yeah. It's anybody who wants to can take it. I think there's something, he just can't have a red t-shirt on or something funny, and it's just like, oh, that's up for grabs.
That's the scariest part about him, though. He's wearing a red shirt, no pants.
No pants.
The creepiest look ever.
Which is the Donald
Sutherland.
We call that the Donald Sutherland.
Animal House.
An Animal House.
Animal House.
Just as like his cardigan.
I'm going to fantasy book wrestling for a second. Could you see the Dolph character getting toxic on him and becoming a Dolph Kane hybrid? Would you pitch that?
I would love that so much. And it would be like the Hurricane and when he was the newspaper reporter, but there would be a genuine poof of smoke backstage and some other person would genuinely be doing it, and it would be so great. But there'd be no proof. Because you wouldn't see the two of us at the same time anywhere.
That's the way to go.
The other thing, too, about this movie that I know we did mention the janky ADR, but for our listeners, you have to understand that the guy who, and was it the same actor playing the Toxic Avenger that was playing the nerd?
No,
yes.
Right.
I thought it was, right?
Dan said there was, and I'm like, they're height
there's
different.
no
He's wearing a body double. Oh,
yeah, no.
I don't know.
Let me see. Let me Google
That's
right
also,
now.
by the way, yeah, that's also not his voice because
the
you have
voice is a couple of. It has some varying baritone to the voice because sometimes like, sorry, ma'am, anything I can help you with? And you're like, the first time he does that, it's so funny.
It's the same guy, Mitch Cohen, same guy.
No fucking way.
Whoa.
Yeah. He fucking yoked up, bro.
I am blown away. I am
too.
He yoked up.
By the way, I don't know if you can see this, Nick, but this is Marissa Tomei in the movie. She's in
amazing.
One of the many shower scenes.
But I think that's the one where they did a couple of shots where everybody's just scrambling and running away. When he comes back to the athletic club to get revenge, I think that's when everyone's scrambling off. I guarantee it. That's so great that she's in it. I knew somebody would be in it.
Oh. Yeah, I mean,
biggest babe of all time, man. Marissa, if you're a Jersey guy, Marissa
Tomei. I was
Tomei.
for Jersey, like of course.
Yeah, that's our Princess Diana. Marissa Tomei is our Princess Diana. Have you been offered any trauma? I feel like you have, because you, with your contract, you probably have to turn down a lot of shit.
We do have to turn down a lot of stuff, and I'll make it quick. I got a little chummy with Uncle Lloyd and the Troma people. I actually just being a fan, and we're bumping into
like I bought him soup.
Yeah. It was great. They let me join them to do a panel at a Comic-Con a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And they were like, Uncle Lloyd was like, anytime you want to be a part of something or say it and it's done. And they sent me a script. I believe it is Shakespeare's Shitstorm.
Oh yeah.
But years ago, and I go, one page in, I go, work is not gonna, I was 2 sentences in, I go, absolutely not will work ever read this. But they go, it's 15 years in. They go, we've given you a lot of leeway. You've never done anything wrong. She's like, we're gonna leave this one up to you. If you think you should go do this movie, and I went, I love these guys, and I don't know that if you guys saw 10 seconds of this movie that you would ever say that it's okay. But I love them so much, so I'm going to find a way, or have my brother write one or something, and we'll all join up together. Because I love them so much. I love all those kind of movies. I watch Joe Bob Briggs and Darcy. I watch all those.
Bro, you got to be playing like a bozo in it, you know?
Yeah, he's like, you could be the lead. I go, are you joking? I've been training my entire life to be Rafe with the pop collar. I am bozo. Yes.
Yeah, it should be like you and Haley Joel Osment, like you throwing them around or something like that. Oh, and the last thing we always do this week, what happens next at the end of the horror movie, because it ruins every horror movie if you have the scene after. But this is a little different because it's like a Toxic Avenger, and I know what happens next. What happens next is the real cops show up and they say, you guys don't have permits. And everyone goes home. That's exactly.
No, we're the good guys. You're like, no, you're all under arrest.
Yeah. Sorry about it. But yeah, usually we play that game. But clearly, the end of every trauma movie is them just nearly getting arrested. I would love to know if they've ever gotten arrested while filming something. I'm sure they have.
Oh my God.
That's a great question. Yeah. And I guarantee it, just because the way they did so many, like, okay, we can't get this permit. We got to get this shot. Let's go and do it. And I'm already rooting for them as it is.
Yeah.
But you just know that a couple times, like, hey, can you just look the other way? Sure. Hey, you want to be in a movie? Sure. Well, I need you to sign this paper that says we can be here on this New York City sidewalk or something. Like.
But dude, thanks so much for doing it. Please come back anytime.
This is so nice. So great meeting you, and thank you. This is my favorite movie that we've done. In the future,
I think Nick would be good for this. We're looking for someone to watch Frankenhooker with.
I love Frankenhooker. Great movie.
All right, next. Will you do the next one? All right, our next Nick is going to be on our Frankenhooker episode.
Put it down.
You're going to be our guy for movies made under $50. So
I just love her smile that whole time, like this. You have to do that the entire time, and she crushes.
Trauma is this weird thing because it's like.
Wait, did Trauma do?
No, they didn't do it.
Oh, Frankenhooker? It would make sense.
But like Frankenhooker and Toxic Avenger, they did. They did do it? They did Oh, that's hilarious.
The budget seems very high, so I think they had some help on that one.
I was going to say that it's not, yeah, maybe.
But it's like they do this weird thing where it's like all the stuff that I got my first boners to when I was in 6th grade. So it's like, I'm like goofy, but I'm also like, Frankenhooker's kind of hot. Like, I don't know.
She's a total babe.
She's hot.
Which, it's like 80s hot.
Total babe. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Wait,
this was before,
I love this.
This was like before Fiona Apple was hot. Guys.
I'm on Chroma's.
Big girl with
Fiona
big
Apple.
boobs and big hair, and that's all it was.
It's
about,
very
folks.
80s though. Every woman in the 80s had big bazooms and were blonde and big hair.
Big hair.
We don't have to put this in the thing.
We want Anna Nicole Smith, not Zendaya. All right.
Not Zendaya.
I can't.
I don't want that. R.I.P. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. What? All right, folks. Thanks, Nick, a.k.a. Dolph, a.k.a. Nick. We'll see you next time.
You got it, guys. Thanks for having me.